there's no doubt this is a gut punch to the bull thesis in the near term. I mean, our view has sort of been, it's been a turnaround story, and obviously we've seen the stock move accordingly. But ultimately right now, it makes the metrics more reliable, and ultimately from an advertiser perspective, and we've heard from advertisers, they want more real metrics that ultimately are going to give them the sort of meat on the bone to know that the engagement and everything is ultimately moving on the platform. So we view it as a near-term pain for long-term game in terms of the move, but ultimately we continue to still believe that for Twitter, this is more of a speed bump rather than the start of a longer-term structural issue.
Which is what you think is the case for Facebook at this point.
Now, Facebook...
So you do see the difference there.
And I think you see a clear delineation.
Sure.
But ultimately, this is just added to the darker clouds in social media, which is why you see Facebook down accordingly. It feels like a ripple effect.
Scott, if memory serves me right, I think you downgraded Facebook, right, in June? Which was a pretty good call.
Yep, so we downgraded Facebook in late June,
so
and we actually downgraded Twitter just a couple of weeks ago.
Okay,
but
so what did you see on the horizon?
We actually upgraded Twitter today.
You did? Okay, so why?
Yep. So I was going to say, so it seems like I'm maybe less bearish than you might have thought as of yesterday, notwithstanding the results and reception to those. The reality here is that these are names that, we thought were somewhat prime for sell-offs for different reasons to some extent. I think a lot of people are talking about Facebook as being priced to perfection. We didn't necessarily see that, but we just thought that the company was going to have to respond to what was going on related to Cambridge Analytica. In terms of Twitter, which is obviously what we're supposed to be talking about here, I think the issue was really more of the valuation to a large extent, and any kind of issues that the company had in terms of execution, communication, additional spending, or the culling of users to restrain growth in that particular area or contribute to, as Melissa, you indicated, a sequential decline. Those are the types of things that might seem minor to some folks, but are pretty significant in the context of a stock that had performed so well and was, we thought, pretty notably overvalued.
So, Dan, take me through this decline in monthly active users. 3 million people fewer in this quarter. They say that it may be roughly that number or a little more, mid-single digits in the millions going forward. Is this because of the way they're scrubbing their user roles, or is it because of some organic decline in people's appetite to use Twitter? The president isn't going to stop, is he?
Yeah, I don't think the president's going to stop, but I think.
But he's just one.
But yeah, but ultimately, it is true. I think you have GDPR privacy, and the overall scrubbing of data has had a negative effect. But nonetheless, they have structural and secular issues in terms of that growth that's been an issue. If you look at Dorsey on this turnaround story, it's been about the monetization and ultimately, how they've been successful there. It's going to be some tough, what I'd say, an uphill battle to significantly increase that user growth. But ultimately now you want to scrub it, get a cleaner metric, and then the streak can kind of
But of the
reset.
losses that they saw in monthly active users, you don't know exactly how that breaks down in terms of those scrubbed and those that just left.
Who just quit.
It could be a number that is almost all just left the platform.
And the reason the stock's down so much is because the worst thing you want here is uncertainty. And and you came away on that call not feeling like really management even knows that. And that's really why right now it's in the investor penalty box till they could show what's really scrubbing versus core organic loss.